All right, let's get... No, we're not getting into it yet. Episode 4. I don't know what to call this. Nutrition. What is food and nutrition? What is food and nutrition? This was way more information than I had anticipated, but we are going to get through this sucker. I've got 12 pages in front of me, and so I'm going to be doing a lot of reading this time, I'm guessing, and less shooting off the cuff so we can fly through this. Goal of this episode is add more depth to metabolism, more understanding to metabolism, gain a better understanding of what food and nutrition is. This is going to be what food and nutrition is. I don't know if it's a better understanding. It just is what it is at this point, which is unbelievable. Use more buttons. I said that last time. I probably got a couple more in, but not enough. I want more buttons. I think they're fun. You know, people like the buttons apparently. I get a lot of positive feedback on that. And we're going to elucidate the mysteries of the universe. Dang it. That's the one I wanted. Elucidate the mysteries of the universe. No, we're not. Maybe a little bit, actually, but that was just supposed to be a joke. Okay, updates. No, this is not updates. Outline of topics. We've got updates. We've got some clarification. We're going to review metabolism and add a little depth. We're going to talk about what is your body made of? Because in order to understand what your body's made of, well, anyways, we're starting to do it already. What is food? Next topic, it's all in balance, and final thoughts. Okay, so that is the outline for today. Updates, some clarification, review of metabolism, and add some depth. What is your body made of? What is food? It's all in balance, and some final thoughts. Woo! Updates. Lions took care of business in Minnesota. It's been cool and sunny, which is great. You know, who doesn't like nice weather? Sun's out. As long as it's 50 and sunny, or 50 and above and sunny, I'm good to go. So I've been enjoying the weather. Studio updates. Nothing you can see, but I was working on one of these sound panels. We didn't have enough material. I mentioned this before, and it's pretty much done. It's just sitting there, and I got to figure out how to hang these 3 things on the wall because they are heavy. And that's a bit of a mystery to be solved. Maybe that's what I need to elucidate. So that's the studio update. But once that's done, I'm going to adjust the layout. We are working on the different cover art, which will be more amenable to a sign. And that's going to be back here. Am I recording? Yep, we are recording. Fantastic. And so I got to get those hung. I got to get the sign. Then I'm going to change the way I shoot a little bit. We're going to change the lighting a little bit. We're going to get this a little bit more refined because I think it could be better. All right. Subscriber update. Here we go. Email went from 58 to 61. So we added 3 there. YouTube went from 28 to 34. Spotify 8 to 14. And Apple 6 to 10. So we're seeing growth across the board. Let's get some more. Yeah, more applause. Growth across the board. Fantastic there. I really don't know how Spotify and Apple grow. I don't know if it's just, I think they're running some algorithm and they're pushing things up and trying to promote what they got going on, which would make sense. YouTube does that all the time. Those little machines running around in the background on the internet there doing their thing. And just a quick reminder, please submit your questions to dennis@dennisfenrich.com. Or if you're already subscribed and you're getting the emails, you can just hit reply to one of those emails and I will get it. Questions are great. I don't have any questions for this week. I would like more questions if you have them. I'm sure you do. Maybe you're just walking around through the day and something pops into your head. Put it in your phone. Shoot me an email. All right, some clarification. So I don't know if you have noticed or not, but like some of these titles, I don't know what I'm calling everything or anything. And what's happening is now, before I decided I had this way I was going to do it, and then I realized wasn't going to make sense, so I had to change the numbering. Then I was going to put nutrition or exercise or whatever in front of it, and it's just making long titles, which isn't great. But what's happening is I'm taking the audio and I'm putting it up into an AI. So I'm loading it up onto a platform. That platform has AI. I don't know how AI does this, but it knows what I'm saying and it's writing a description and it's writing better titles than I am. So when you see title changes, it's because what'll happen is I'll say the title in the podcast, but the title's different. So if you're experiencing that, it's because AI is smarter than me. Is there a button for that? There's no button for that. Yeah, so that's what's going on there. I just wanted to give you some clarification on that if you're getting confused about what I say it's called and what it is actually called, which has happened 2 times now, I think. Okay, before we get into hold on. Okay, before we get into nutrition, we need to understand metabolism and what our bodies are made of. So 2 things there. If you're going to understand nutrition, you cannot understand nutrition without understanding metabolism and what your body or a human body consists of. When you understand metabolism and those 2 things, then nutrition will make sense. If I just say what nutrition is, it won't make sense outside of that understanding. So we are going to cover that understanding today. That will be the gist of what we talk about. All right, let's get into this. If you love that button, give it a like. Okay, first, review of metabolism. We're going to add some depth. We know we can't stand in the sun and turn rays into energy. I'm not going to hit that many buttons. All right, this is going to slow me down. That's the wrong button I wanted. Yeah, that one. Anyways, enough of the buttons for now. Okay, we know we can't stand in the sun and turn rays into energy. We can't do that. We know that we can't manifest matter inside our bodies. We can't do that neither. We have to eat both those things. So the earth has energy and matter, and we have to eat it to sustain our metabolisms, our life. That is the gist of metabolism. Metabolism, what's next? Metabolism is an organism breaking down the world and turning it into itself. Your body's doing that all the time. It's a constant thing. This process stops, you stop. Energy. So we understand, I think everybody gets the energy side pretty clear, but the cellular regeneration side, which is the dual aspect of metabolism, which we talked about in the previous episode, is what we're going to add a little more depth to today. So in order to do that, I went to the Google AI because it's right there. And it's, again, the AI is smarter than I. Maybe because there's a and I. I don't know. Okay. So we're going to talk about cellular regeneration just to paint a little bit more picture to what's going on with cellular regeneration because it's happening at different rates in different tissues. And that is just, I got this word elucidating in my head now. That is just enlightening unto itself. Okay. So fat cells, and I didn't know the rate. And this doesn't go into every cell. I suppose I could have looked that up. I don't think you want to hear everyone. Maybe you do, but you could look it up in your own Google AI if you wanted to. As long as you're not driving, don't be looking at your cell phone when you're driving. Fat cells. Fat cells replace at a rate of 8 plus or minus 6% per year. And I guess what that is saying is 2 to 14% per year, meaning half of the body's fat cells are replaced in about 8 years. Now, that is interesting. I would have thought fat cells would have been dying, replacing themselves more rapidly than that, but I guess they're just storage. Now, that doesn't mean the fat in there is staying the same. There's a difference between the cell and what's stored in it. So, fat cells replace themselves on average every 8 years, which is crazy. But the energy in there is if you're active, is always in flux. It's getting burned up and it's getting replaced, and that's how it works. Heart muscle cells. replace at a rate that varies from 0.5% to 30% per year, which is a massive fluctuation depending on age and gender. Liver. Liver regenerates every 150 to 500 days. So every half a year to year and a half, roughly, you're going to have a brand new liver. Fantastic. I love that. Stomach and intestines. Remember Google AI here. Cells that line the surface of the stomach and intestines typically last only up to 5 days. Now, what does that tell you about those tissues if they're regenerating themselves so fast? I'm going to say they're pretty important. I guess I wouldn't look at it like important. I would look at it as adaptive, but also maybe sensitive. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Every 5 days compared to 8 years, that's a massive difference. For some reason, it didn't pull up bone cells. I was going to look it up, but I figured I had enough on here. Bone, I think, is maybe, it's 7 years or something like that. It's pretty crazy to think your bones are made out of cells. How is that going on? Doesn't even move. Can't see it move anyways. Your cornea. This may be the fastest in the whole body. Your eye's cornea. The eye's cornea can regenerate itself in as little as 1 day. So 24 hours, you got a whole new cornea. Think about that. I know muscles are like 3 weeks. Those are because they're super energy dependent and they're turning over very fast. The body replaces final point here, or final number, the body replaces about 380 billion cells daily. What's going on, man? Which is equivalent to about 1% of all cells. In 30 to 100 days, 30 trillion will have been replenished. So, what did that just say? The body replaces about 300 billion cells, which is equivalent to about 1% of all cells. Replaces about 100 cells daily. So, 1% of you is replaced every day. That's crazy. In 30 to 100 days, 30 trillion would have been replenished. Amazing. It's obviously not just energy, okay? You got that whole cellular regeneration thing going on, and I'm telling you, it's important. Moral of the story, the machine is running, and it's hungry. Dang it. There it is. I gotta label these buttons or just play with this more. All right, now let's talk about your body and what it's made of. Okay, so we just talked about metabolism. We just added some depth, some understanding into metabolism. It's energy. It's a cellular regeneration thing. It's constantly going all the time. Because if it's not, as I said before, you dead. All right, what is your body made of? So we're just going to talk about now what is the body made of, right? So we got this metabolism thing going on. It's always doing this stuff. And now, what's the base though? Like, what are we actually made of? Because metabolism is kind of running around this thing that is existing. It's what's keeping it existing. But what is it made of? So we're going to summarize and look at this from 2 different perspectives. We're going to look at it by mass first, and then we'll look at it by percentage of molecules second. Okay, so mass is, how much by weight, but we're going to do it by percentage. Okay, so how much mass? So don't let that confuse you. About 99% of it is made up of 6 elements. This is the Google machine again, by the way. I love the Google machine. About 99% of it is made up of 6 elements: oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus. Now, you ain't got to know what any of those things are, but I know you know what oxygen is. Only about 0.85%, so that's less than a percent, is composed of another 5 elements, which are potassium, sulfur, sodium, chlorine, and magnesium. All 11 are essential for life. So think about that for a second. You're made up of these atoms, basically, and these atoms form up into stuff, and they form up into oxygen and carbon and hydrogen and nitrogen and calcium and phosphorus. That's about 99% of you. But then there's a less than percent of you, which is smaller. So you have a large something, you have like a macro, and then you have a micro. And this is going to be a theme, by the way. Macro and micro, you have large amounts and things get down to small amounts. And 0.85% is composed of the other five elements, which is potassium, sulfur, sodium chloride, and magnesium. All 11 are necessary for life. Okay, so that's what you are consisting of by mass. This is by molecules. So I'm talking about like these compounds then form up into other things. Okay. So water, which is H2O, 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. Hydrogen and oxygen came together and made water. If you already knew that, fantastic. You're 65% water. You are 20% protein. You are 12% lipids, fats. You are 1.5% inorganics. And inorganics, I didn't even know what that meant. Inorganics is things that are made, things that exist that aren't made with carbon. So basically, if it doesn't have a carbon molecule in there, they're calling it an inorganic. Now, nothing falls into perfect categories most of the time, except numbers. But this is pretty much what it is. All right, then your RNA, which is ribonucleic acid or something right there. I never remember how to say those. But your RNA reads DNA and tells the cell what proteins to make. Okay, so your 1% of that, your 0.4% organics, which are basically compounds that have been put together from animals or plants, and your 0.1%, so your 10% of 1% DNA. It's pretty fascinating to think you can weigh that. But anyways, hopefully that gives you some idea of what you're made of, these things that exist in the universe. And you have this metabolism that's constantly replacing those things. And they need to be in balance. And that is going to be a theme throughout this, right? Notice the balance. You have this large to small thing going on. This is going to stay consistent. In the universe, you got large to small. In your body, you got large to small. Your nutrition is probably going to go large to small. And the large being more important. I don't know how to say that, but maybe order of priority. Okay. That's what your body's made of. Now, we set the stage and we're going to get into food. Yes. Yes. That top left button, I don't remember what it is. Oh, yeah, I remember now. It's music. Okay, what is food? You probably see the trend here. Let me reiterate. Our environment is energy from the sun and matter from the earth. That's what our environment is. We are energy from the sun and matter from the earth. Whoa, we just talked about that. Our food is, guess what? Energy from the sun and matter from the earth, right? The energy is hitting the plant. The plant is taking those special rays that we can't do anything with except get a tan and some vitamin D and turning those into itself and carbohydrates. And then they're going to eat those carbohydrates. So that's where the energy is coming from, the majority of it, and matter from the earth, right? So those plants are pulling up, I'll get into the whole thing later on, but basically you got this mycelium, which is mushrooms, and mushrooms are breaking down the rocks, and this is generally speaking, and the plants are living off the mycelium. They're pulling the minerals from the mycelium, and the plants are giving carbohydrate to the mycelium, yes. And so that is basically breaking down the earth. This is all being upcycled. You don't have to know all that right now. I'm going to cover that in detail in a podcast. So let me get out of the weeds. Our food is energy from the sun and matter from the earth. What? Go figure. Food is one of three things. So food is going to break down into three different main categories. And in order for something to be food, it has to have energy. That is a key stipulation. If it doesn't have energy, it's not food. You cannot live on vitamin D. You can't live on vitamin C. You can't live on magnesium. You can't live on those things because they don't have any energy in them. Not energy that you can get out of. And if you got it in quantity, you can't even break it down. Doesn't matter. Physics. Food is one of three things: protein, fats, or carbs. If it's not a protein, a fat, or a carb, it is not food. These are known as the macros, meaning large. There it is again. And then there are micros, and these are minerals and vitamins. Those are, like I just said, those are not food technically, because in order for it to be food, it has to have energy in there. But they're still vital. If you don't have those in the right quantities, you dead again. Okay. I actually didn't know if you needed more, because we're taking this from you are made of certain things in larger amounts to smaller amounts. You need to ingest certain things in larger amounts to smaller amounts. And I didn't know if we needed more vitamins or we needed more minerals. I would have guessed minerals and I was right, but I didn't know. So who do we turn to? We turn to the Google AI. I'm just going to see what this button does. Oh, oh. Anyways, starting to learn them. We'll get there. Things always get better as long as you don't quit. I was coaching. We're actually moving through this pretty good. All right. What is food continued? We went to the Google AI. The amount of, and I'm just going to read verbatim, the amount of vitamins and minerals you need depends on many factors, including your body weight. Oh, yeah. So in case I lost you with me hitting the buttons, I wanted to figure out, do we need more vitamins, or what came in larger quantities, vitamins or minerals? All right, so I'm going to read verbatim, Google AI. The amount of vitamins and minerals you need depends on many factors, including your body weight, age, overall health, and whether you are pregnant or breastfeeding. However, in general, you need more minerals than vitamins. Yeah, you know what that's getting. Yeah, I got that right. Fantastic. Could have hit it with the big wah, 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 but I didn't. So I'll read minerals. Minerals are inorganic, and this is where I learned where minerals were. And we're inorganic. I had to look up inorganic though. Minerals are inorganic elements that come from soil and water and are absorbed by plants or eaten by animals. There are two kinds of minerals. Macro minerals, and this will probably be confusing. There's macro minerals. Now, all minerals are micronutrients, but within the minerals, there's macro and there's micro. I hope you followed that. It's not that important, but Google AI thought it necessary to point out. It wanted to elucidate. There are two kinds of minerals, macro minerals and trace minerals. You need large amounts of macro minerals, such as calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, sodium, potassium, chloride, and sulfur. You only need small amounts of trace minerals, such as chromium, copper, iodine, iron, selenium, and zinc. And then it says a little bit about vitamins. Vitamins are organic substances, which means they are made of plants or animals. Vitamins and minerals are micronutrients, which means you need them in smaller quantities than macronutrients like carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. There it is again, the theme. Big to small, big to small. Food continued. So, in order of quantity needed, and this is going to open up a can of debate right here because I'm about to say something people ain't going to agree with. Oh, Lordy. So, in order of quantity needed, carbs, energy, protein, energy and material, fat, energy and material, minerals, and then vitamins. And I got a bullet point. I know people say you don't need carbs. It's a contentious argument. What it appears, or I seem to think is happening, is because if we're going to have things in balance, which we need in balance because our bodies have a balance of nutrients and our metabolism is attempting to keep those things in balance. And if we're going to drop one of the three food options, if we're going to drop carbohydrate, I just almost flipped everybody off if you're not watching. So I'll do this differently. It doesn't matter how I do it. Do it with the thumb. If we only got three options for food and we drop one of those, I think that's going to create an imbalance. And what I think is happening now, if you're in a calorie deficit, you probably will be okay if you want to drop carbohydrate for a little while. I don't recommend it. I don't think it's ideal, but it is a way to lose weight. When you cut out carbs for a prolonged period of time, this is what I think is happening. When you cut out carbs for a prolonged period of time and keep energy balance neutral, so you're still meeting your energy needs, but those needs are being met without carbohydrate, which means you had to up your fat and your protein intake, you're taking in too much protein and fat and you're creating an imbalance. That is what I think is happening. I'm going to talk a little bit more about balance in a second. But before that, a brief little side note that some people will find interesting: alcohol. Maybe that's too much buttons. There's definitely going to be a thing is of too much of such a thing as too much buttons. That is for sure. But alcohol, hard liquors don't qualify as food because they don't really have any nutrients in there. They're so pure that there's no real nutrients. Vodka was like zero. It was literally alcohol. I mean, there was nothing else in there. But interestingly enough, beer would probably qualify. And people used to live on beer for a long time. It's got a lot of different stuff in there, some minerals, you got you got some carbohydrate, you got some other things going on in there. So beer would probably qualify. So some people are clapping for that. I'm not going to hit another button. You can just clap on your own. Okay. And here we go. We're going to kind of start summarizing this. It's all in balance. Main point. We are made of these things in a balance and we need to consume them in a balance. Example, this is me. I eat about 250 grams of carbs, about 175 grams of protein, and about 80 grams of fat. Okay. And I am able to maintain my energy levels depending on how hard I'm training. If I want to up my training, I'll tell you right now, I got to up my carbohydrate. Otherwise, I can't keep up. I just get too tired and I don't have energy to do stuff like this. When you find your balance, it's going to be similar. You're going to land about the same ratios as far as carbohydrates, proteins, and fats go. Why? Because you and I aren't very different. Your body is made up of amino acids and fatty acids and the macronutrients and the micronutrients, and they're coming in a balance because you got muscle and I got muscle and you got bone and I got bone and my eyes are regenerating themselves and your eyes are regenerating themselves and they're doing the same things. That balance is just not going to be very different from person to person other than the total energy expenditure, and you're just going to make that up with carbohydrate. You could also do it a little bit with fat, but that's just how it works. I mean, I can't see any other way around that. If somebody can explain to me a way that makes more sense than that, I'm on board. I'm not committed to my ideas. What's the saying? It's strongly held, loosely convictions or something like that. I'm always open to new information. And if somebody can show me how I'm wrong, man, you know what? Let's talk about it because I don't want to spend one moment of my life any more than I need to being wrong. I still do because I'm wrong on other things that I don't know about. But I got past trying to be right, about 45. I'd had enough because that's just like hitting your head against the wall every time you find out you're wrong when you thought you were right. And if you try and hold on to that, it's just not good. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is if somebody can show me another way, I'm totally open to it. But this is just how it seems to me. I don't know if there's any other way around it. Another point, metabolism is constant. So point one is we're the same. We have a balance of nutrients that makes this thing function. You got to take in nutrition in to meet that balance. Another point, metabolism is constant. It never turns off till it's over, which we've covered. So the environment is consistently flowing through us like a stream. Hopefully you're starting to get the picture that this is a constant thing. It's not, so it's just constant. It's like a stream. It's always moving. It's always flowing. The metabolism is always running and it's always trying to stay in balance. In and out, it's an exchange, a relationship. It needs to stay in balance or we get out of balance, main point. So if it's not in balance, that means it's out of balance. Low oxygen, that would be out of balance. Hey, I took that off of here? Huh. Anyways, low oxygen is going to be out of balance. Low protein is definitely going to be out of balance, right? If your protein intake is very, very low, well, your cellular regeneration is going to be affected by that. Guess what? That's out of balance. Your energy Low energy is going to be out of balance, right? Low micronutrients will put you out of balance. All equal out of balance from our physiology. Things need to be coming in balance. I hope that is the point that I have made. I had a different definition and I took it off here. Interesting. Okay, final thoughts. If I can remember it, I'll say it. Final thoughts. Recap. Bring the big. Let's just recap real quick. Metabolism is an organism breaking down the environment and turning it into itself. Nutrition is metabolism replacing what it is losing. So metabolism is breaking down the environment, turning it into itself. What it's doing is replacing what it's losing. And optimum nutrition is metabolism replacing what it is losing in an optimal balance. Hopefully that made sense. I think it did. To reiterate, man, I can't. There was this definition, and I took it off. You know what? I'll cover it on the next episode. All right. It was a new definition of nutrition, and I liked it better than the one we currently use. Anyways, again, I'll cover it on the next episode. Okay. To reiterate from previous shows, paleo, vegan, carnivore, Mediterranean, SCD, specific carbohydrate diet, ABC, anabolic burst cycling, potato, whatever diet you're on. Those are all sources. Those are all things to think about. It's not the source that matters most. It's the amounts that matter most. You got to get your quantities in line. If your quantities are in line, it doesn't matter what it does matter to some degree. For the most part, pick any diet you want. Just get your quantities in line with what your body needs. Yeah, and that's what I already said. Okay. Wow. That went way faster than I had anticipated. So thanks for that. I'm super happy because it's getting late and I'm ready for dinner. And you know what? I didn't wrap up. Couple final things here. Help us grow. You can do that by liking and subscribing and sharing. We would totally appreciate that. There's 3 of us now. There's me. There's Nathan, the editor. He's doing a fantastic job. Thank you, Nathan. And we just brought on another guy, Nasmuth. Nasmus is his name, which is hard for me to say. And he is managing the social media accounts and going to help those grow. So we're putting a team together here. We want to get this information out. Everybody's on board and super pumped about that. If you do have any questions, please submit them to Dennis at DennisFenrich.com. And care about you guys. I hope this is helping, and we will talk to you next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.